Oh my god. Alright, so here we are again, and trust me, I am as tired talking about this topic as you guys have already let me know in the comments are tired of hearing about it. We're going to talk about identity politics again. So, but before we do, I need to, of course, make a disclaimer. It's 2020, even though people are going to disregard everything I say in the disclaimer anyway. Racism is wrong. Sexism is wrong. Homophobia is wrong. All of these things are wrong. No part of me thinks that they're okay in any way, shape, or form against any race, against any sex, against women, against men, against gay people, against bi people, against lesbians. I don't in any way, shape, or form condone any of these behaviors. Okay? Alright. So, in a minute, I'm going to put up like a little picture that I took of this video that was posted online on YouTube about a week ago or something. I just became aware of it today, and I felt the need to talk about it because I think it once again proves exactly the things I said that I was fearful of, and why I also felt the need, why I said I could not support the Democratic Party in this last election. And basically, I don't know, you guys know I'm not so good with editing, and I definitely don't know what the rules are on copyright. That's why I'm not going to actually put the video into this video, but I will link it down below. And I do actually hope you guys go and watch it, and maybe go and watch it now, so you have an idea what I'm talking about, and then you can come back and maybe what this video is about that I'm going to be talking about will make more sense to you guys, okay? So, anyway, so let me start this way. The first thing I need to do is I need to apologize. I need to apologize to many of you, not all of you, many of you, and I also need to apologize to my younger self. Those of you who have been with me for a long time, you know that when I first started my channel, I am such a believer in equality, and I'm such a believer in, treating all people correct and polite and with respect, as long as the respect is mutual. And I don't know, I feel like in my earlier videos, I just remember making so many videos in defense of like Muslims, and also about like, how I think you could help the black community. I even remember like in my early videos, like making like snarky comments where I was like the white devil and all the things that the white person did wrong, and even saying things like I'm not even that attracted to white people in a sexual way. And I remember like saying all these things, and I think here we are now, several years later, and this video to me shows how the road to hell is paved with good intentions. I had so many times in my past life, I'm not dead, I'm not coming from the grave. So many times in the past, I always felt that I needed to really make people aware of the fact that I am cognizant of all of the things the white race did that were wrong and unfair and bad and just horrific, and that just by admitting these things and saying that I'm aware of them, that would kind of in itself help equalize you know, the races and, you know, some of the animosity and stuff that was occurring in the world still. You know, if I look back, I think I've been on YouTube for like 7 years or something, and if I look back on, I actually feel in a lot of ways racial tensions in the Western world have become increasingly worse. And now looking back, I think that it is partially because of people like me, people like the past me, having opened up this door thinking we were doing the right thing and it having been taken advantage of. So anyway, coming to this video, okay, it's like a 6-minute video. Hopefully by now you guys have watched it. And it's basically somebody thought it was a good idea to ask 100 black people what white people are superior at. I mean, this is already such a loaded question, is already set up to kind of feel condescending to the black people who are going to be partaking in it. But anyway, I would divide this video and the responses of the black people in this video up into 3 parts. The first part I actually thought was kind of funny. Like, they were playing on like stereotypes that already exist, and they're like, white people like bland food. You know, white people are too attached to their pets. I mean, blah, blah, blah. You know, and these are things, like, to me, this was just kind of funny. I was just kind of like, okay, these are just silly stereotypes, whatever. The second part of the video, starting kind of with that, with the guy that was wearing the mask, turned into all about how white people think they're better. And that was kind of like, that part of the video turned into like, white people are better at being privileged. White people are better at thinking that they're like superior to everybody else, that they should have more rights or whatever. And even this part of the video, I kind of was like, okay, this is kind of cringe, but it's not terrible yet. And then the last part of the video was just full on racism. I mean, they were saying things like, white people are better at being liars. White people are better at being thieves. White people are better at being, like, basically assholes. I don't think she said asshole. Dicks? Did she say dicks? And at this point, I'm sorry, but there is something that has gotten completely off kilter. Because the first point that I really feel I need to make is, this type of video in the Western world would literally be illegal if it was made about a different race. If they sat down 100 white people and said, what do you think is superior about black people? Oh, they're better at eating fried chicken. You know, I mean, that video would not be allowed to be put on YouTube. And especially with the kind of positive responses it's getting, that would be considered hate speech. It would literally be considered hate speech. So I'm not gonna lie, I was offended by it. I would have been offended by it if somebody made a video like that about Asian people, about black people, about Hispanic people, about gay people, whatever. I find that overall just repugnant. And then the next thing that happened, which actually made the whole situation feel even more surreal to me, is one of my closest friends and somebody that is very important to me is a man who lives in Iran. I really respect his opinion. He's a very good man. And I sent him the video over WhatsApp. And I was like, you know, I would like if you watched this, because him and I kind of had a bit of a disagreement, because I was saying, you know, I'm going to go for Trump, and he was kind of like, I can't believe you'll go for Trump, all this kind of stuff. So I sent this video, and I was like, this video is partially why I felt I could not relate to the Democrats anymore, or to the left. Because this is kind of the narrative that is being pushed from the left now. And I sent it to him, and the response I got was, I don't see what the big deal is. And I'm not gonna lie, I was actually kind of hurt, and I was disappointed by his response. And here's the reason, because when he was like, I don't see what the big deal is. Here's the reason it's a big deal. We are now living in a world where people, literally just a month ago, 2 people in France were beheaded because they not even said anything negative about the Prophet or about Islam. All they did was ask questions in regards to the idea of it. And they were beheaded. And when France went up against it, the media's viewpoint of it was, it is not okay to be Islamophobic. Not all Muslims are terrorists, which they're not, and I agree with that. And it's not okay to be Islamophobic. I agree with that too. But 2 people legitimately lost their lives for doing nothing wrong, and the narrative was, it's not okay to be racist against Muslims. I actually just had a guy, and I'm going to insert a picture of his profile picture, message me in a gay chat room for Saudi Arabia, telling me that he was interested, and this was his profile picture. It's an acceptable profile picture. It's an acceptable profile picture to say, burn France to the ground because they questioned the validity of certain aspects of Islam. We now live in a world where J.K. Rowling's latest book was burned. They had burning parties for it because the main villain in the book was supposedly portraying trans people in a negative light. It is now so wrong to even say trans people could potentially be the villain of a book, because only white men can be villains in 2020. That it's okay to burn these books. I did a video a couple of months ago where I said it has become the world map is racist against black people because Africa is not in the middle of the map. Cocoa Puffs are racist because they have a picture of a monkey. Being attracted to black people is racist because you're fetishizing them, and not being attracted to black people is racist for obvious reasons too. And I honestly don't understand how we can have these kind of situations in real life being given true validation. True validation. I mean, they're in the news. It is actually news that these things are bad and wrong because they go against minorities. But a 6-minute video talking about basically how shit white people are, all white people, it's supposed to be taken as, oh yeah, that's true, that's true. White people are shit. All of them. The entirety of the race. They're just shit. I can't agree. I'm sorry, but I just can't agree with I can't agree with any of this. And it's not because I'm white. I know a lot of people are going to say, oh, you're just feeling this way because you're white and you're trying to play the victim. I don't think of myself as a victim. I don't live my life as a victim, and I don't see myself as a victim. But one thing I've said so many times in my videos is I will never agree with an agenda where to have to build one group up, you have to pull another group down. I don't believe that the only way we can uplift the black community is by tearing down the white, I don't even like saying the black community. I mean, black people are completely diverse like every other race. The only way to build up black people is to tear down white people. The only way to build up gay people is to tear down straight people. The only way to build up trans people is to tear down non-trans people. You know, I will not ever agree to this methodology. It is, to me, this methodology and this thinking and this way of seeing the world and acting is 100% high school bully mentality. It is the high school cheerleader gossiping about every other girl in the class, saying that they're sluts, that they're stupid, that they're easy, that they're ugly, to make herself feel like, oh, but I'm a good, virgin, beautiful girl. And I thought in the last decade, we've been talking about how bullying is wrong. And how is this not basically just bullying hidden behind a very thin veneer of social justice? That is all it is. It is bullying hidden by a veneer of social justice. That is all it is. So I was watching this video. I was taking in what my friend said. I was really having this kind of an existential crisis because I was like, is it me? Like, am I the one that's living in Bizarro World? Like, is it really me that is wrong in thinking that it is not okay to basically take a whole race that is not monolithic, because white people are not a monolithic, we're not monolithic. There's so much diversity within the white race, as far as that even exists, as there is in every other race. Not all Asian people are the same, not all white people are the same, not all black people are the same. There's a huge difference if you're from, I don't know, if you're from Ireland or if you're from Belarus. Like, it's not the same culture, it's not the same history, it's not the same if you are a white American or if you're a Swedish person. It's not the same if you're Nigerian or if you're a black American. It's not the same if you're Spanish or you're from Mexico. It's not the same, you know. So, right, I'm just really... Anyway, I was having like this existential crisis, and I was kind of going, okay, the only way I'm going to be able to try to get okay with what I just watched is by trying to find some rationale that justifies this kind of video. And the only thing I could think of on some kind of rational, logical way is that the people, I don't know, people on the left, they came together and they said black people and gay people had to put up with so much blatant racism and homophobia and sexism for so long, it is time for the white man to taste his own medicine. That is literally the only thing I could think. I can even understand that argument to some degree. I think I can somehow rationalize if you would think that. But again, to me, it comes back to this. Do you want to live a life that is completely tit for tat? Or do you want to be somebody who esteems to be better? Yes, as a gay person, I have been treated poorly in situations for being gay. Being called names, being made fun of, being the butt of the joke. And then it was my choice, and it is everybody's choice, regardless if you're gay or if you're black or if you're disabled or if you're trans. You have the choice to then hate those people who said that to you, and to then in turn also react to them in that way, or you can rise above it. And one thing, I don't even know how long ago this was years ago, I made a video where I was like, one of the reasons I loved Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s beliefs and his ideologies so much is that he believed the only way to get long-term equality is by beating the system at its own game, or beating the white man at its own game. And I truly believe this. By going like, oh, this straight person just called me a fag, so I'm going to call him a piece of shit, and then he's going to call me a dick sucker, and then I'm going to call him a mother effer. You're not making the world a better place. You're not bringing people together. We're not moving in the right direction this way. The way I can make the world a better place is he calls me a faggot, and I say, that's not right. But I'm going to rise above it. I'm not going to retaliate it. And it will show the people around, maybe not that person directly, but it will show the people around like, wow, you know what? That guy has some class. That guy has some dignity. And this has just always been the way that I have seen how we, as anybody in any minority group, is, yes, we will have to work harder. Yes, we will have to be more diligent. We will have to be more intelligent. And that will have to happen for maybe 2 or 3 or 4 generations. And then you've beaten the system at their own game, or the white people, or whoever you feel you want to blame. And that is the only way to get true equality. So I don't know. I was thinking about like, what is the possible way to rationalize this? And then I was thinking, if I make this video, what is already the feedback that I can anticipate from people who are not going to agree with me? And I think one of the main things they're going to say is the difference here is that since white people still benefit from the privileges that they receive now due to past wrongs, it is okay to I mean, I don't think anybody will be willing to admit that it's racist, but it's okay to say these things because white people still benefit from the past wrongs that we, since I am a white person, have committed. And again, I have a problem with this logic, and I made a video about this before because I was like, I've never denied white privilege. I do think white privilege exists within reason. I don't think it is this all-encompassing thing that people are trying to push now, where it's literally like me and Oprah Winfrey could walk into a room and people would be like, oh my God, Marcus is here. He's white. Oh my God. Like, I'm just kind of like, okay, that to me is ridiculous. No. But I do agree that white privilege is a thing to some degree, but there's so many aspects to privilege. Are we gonna just say it's okay to attack anybody? Is there, there's privilege to being intelligent. So we're gonna start making videos saying how if you're intelligent, you're a piece of shit and you're an asshole. There's privilege to being tall. There's privilege to being beautiful. There's privilege to being well educated. There's privilege to being well traveled. There's more privilege to coming from wealth than any other privilege. There's privilege from being healthy. There's privilege from, I don't know, growing up in a diverse setting. There's so many, not being handicapped is a privilege. There's so many privileges. Are we just gonna say that it's officially okay to be openly hostile and offensive to anybody who has any form of privilege? No, you can't do that. I mean, and the whole, and this is the thing where I'm just kind of like, I think it's so funny when people want to constantly push this narrative of white privilege. If I was in downtown Compton, there would be no privilege in being white. There would be privilege in being black. A white person will probably get their ass shot, where a black person potentially might also get their ass shot, but probably not for the same reasons that a white person is. So is it then, if let's say I was a white person living in Compton, would I, in that specific scenario, would I then be allowed to make a racist video about black people because in this situation they're the privileged ones? I mean, this is not an excuse. It's not an excuse, and I won't take it as an excuse. And if you're about to leave a comment saying that this is the reason this is acceptable, you're wrong. You're wrong. This is not a reason that it's acceptable. I don't know. I think one of the big issues is America and Americans, especially Americans. Americans think the world begins and ends in America. Whatever a situation is in America, that is what the world must look like. Whatever people are thinking in America, that is what people in the rest of the world must be thinking. Whatever the history of America is, and however the dynamics of the races and the people is in America, must obviously be the dynamics of the races and the people everywhere in the world. And I think this is another reason why I think this kind of video is so dangerous. Not all black people are descendants of slaves. Not even all black people living in the US in 2020 are descendants of slaves. I mean, there's new immigration all the time coming from Nigeria, from, Papua New Guinea. Okay, Papua New Guinea is not Africa, sorry. Cameroon, Tanzania, Kenya. I mean, there's immigration, and actually studies have shown that fresh immigrants from Africa actually are doing quite well in the US. There's also a lot of white people in the world that had nothing to do with slavery, that had nothing to do with the oppression of black people. And not just in the world. Albanians, Belarusians, Estonians, you know, one of my best friends in America was, or is, a woman whose family, immediate family, immigrated to the US in the 90s. She's from Lithuania. Lithuania has no history whatsoever with the transatlantic slave trade. None. But if she was walking down just a normal street in the US now, she would be classified as a white person, and the commentary of this video would be put on her. You know, you guys, I know a lot of you guys have decided, oh, he's a bad man, because heaven forbid, I don't see the rationale or the outcome, the way the left is currently doing it, as the way forward. And it has cost me a lot of subscribers. It has, over the years, cost me, not anybody I would say is a close friend, but like acquaintances, people that were, you know, right there in that almost friend zone. But my channel and my videos really are about, I want truly to do what will benefit and will create true equality. I truly care about the equality of people. I just think people have to work hard for it. I don't believe in handouts. I don't believe in tearing down white people to elevate other people. And it's not to say that I'm not aware, and I'm not willing to say that the white race has done some really terrible things. The transatlantic slave trade it's not in any way, shape, or form excusable. You can't apologize for it. You can't do anything for it. It was beyond horrific. You know, colonization, Holocaust, like all of these things are absolutely horrific aspects that are part of the white culture. What I don't understand, and what is so frustrating to me, is why are only white people being held accountable for their past? Why? I don't understand this. I don't understand who got together, if it was the left or who it was that got together and said every other race is forgiven for any horrible act that they had committed throughout history. And trust me, every race has done it. The Incans and the Mayans doing human sacrifices in the hundreds. African tribes enslaving each other, raping each other, killing each other. Tribes in the Polynesian islands, you know, having cannibalism. God knows the things that China has done to its own citizens. What Japan did during World War II is absolutely on par with what Germany did in World War II. They butchered their way through Southeast Asia. What the Persian Empire has done. What about the fact that Arab people were the first to actually set up international slave trade? The word slave actually comes from Slav, which is a white people who were predominantly enslaved and sold into the Arab world. So it was white people owned by brown people for a much longer period of history than the American slave system existed. That's not excusing the American slave system, but the thing is, I'm just not understanding why me in 2020, why I am supposed to feel guilt and shame, and why I'm supposed to feel okay with a video telling me that I'm a piece of shit, because of the crimes of my ancestors. Sorry, video cut off. Too long and rambly again. You know, I'm just gonna kind of go into the end of the video now. And, you know, the thing is, this video to me is again set up to put, this video specifically, to put black people into the victim light and mentality. But there's other examples of how the left is now constantly trying to perpetuate this belief that if you're a minority, you are a victim, and the only way out of this victimhood and into a better, successful life is via more government control by the Democratic Party. They will fix everything. And I mentioned before, I feel so sad for people who think of themselves as victims. I think that it is, for me, so sad to think that there's so many people out there who are so afraid at the idea of taking responsibility for their own life, because that's hard. And that's an adult thing to do. And if you take responsibility for your own life, if something goes bad, you don't have anybody else to blame. So of course it's easier to be a victim. It's, you know, if you guys can forgive me for this analogy. Hello YouTube, it is me from the future. I decided that I didn't really like the analogy that I used in the video, so I kind of wanted to go and redo that part of the video that you were just watching. And kind of bring in another aspect of the rhetoric that I think is happening in society nowadays and related to the issue of, you know, racial relations and homophobia and all the different phobias that we have nowadays. And I think one of the big problems is that we have tried to simplify something that cannot be simplified because it is just such a nuanced issue. And it really is a nuanced issue. And to try to simplify it just does this issue complete injustice. So what I'm trying to say is we've become this society in 2020 where we are really quick to say if somebody is a bad person or a good person. And to be deemed a good person in 2020, you have to agree with every type of measurement, ideology, thinking that allows minorities, and it doesn't matter what minority, gay or trans or black or Hispanic or whatever it is, to basically to coddle a minority group. Any idea that they come out with, you have to agree with. You know, if it is that there's systemic racism, that there is absolute homophobia, that Islamophobia is ruling the world and it's coming out and trying to destroy everything, you know, if having to accept nonsensical gender pronouns, you know, completely putting aside science and history because of people's inherent feelings. Why did I do that to feelings? That didn't make any sense. So we've kind of created this situation where it's kind of like, if you want to be a good person, you have to be a yay-sayer to all these new in my opinion, radical ideas. And if you question any of them, then you're automatically a bad person. And nobody wants to be a bad person. So the analogy that I want to use and I want to update is, it's so basically the society we live in now is, imagine there are two parents, they both have a child. And in today's society, and I'm sorry, I'm not trying to say that, I don't want anybody to be offended and think, is he equating minorities with children? No, I'm just trying to simplify this analogy. Both these people have children. And in today's society, the good parent is the one that no matter what the child says it wants, the parent gives it to them. If the child says, I want candy, they get candy. If the child says, I want a new toy, they have to get a new toy. If the child says, I don't want to do my homework, they don't have to do their homework. If the child says, I want to stay up late, the child gets to stay up late. And the bad parent is the parent where the child says, I want candy, and the parent says, no, you don't need candy now. I want to stay up late. No, you need to get your sleep. I want to play video games all day. No, you need to read a book and you need to go outside and exercise. And this is something where I'm really bothered by how we are trying to simplify this idea now about you're a good person, you're a bad person. I just had somebody in the comments telling me that I'm a bad person because I don't believe in things like restitutions. I don't believe in something like hiring quotas. And in this scenario, I see myself as maybe the bad parent. I'm not going to just give my child anything that they want, because in the long run, it's not what's going to be good for them. It's not what's going to build their character. It's not what's going to make them a strong, independent person. It's going to make them somebody who is spoiled and is constantly in need of me giving them things. And that is not what good parenting is. Again, I apologize. I'm not trying to say that minorities are children, but I'm just trying to simplify where my thinking comes from. So take that analogy as you want, and now back to the original video. I'm going to end the video with this. This will not end well, you guys. It will not end well. The moment you open the door to any form of racism or sexism or homophobia or whatever, the moment you say that this is legitimately acceptable, it's not going to end there. Right now, they're coming after, maybe not 100% me, but they're coming after people like me. A white man who has a decent life. But it's not going to end there, you guys. It's not going to end there. Once they've made it to where all the overall belief is white straight men are shit, they're gonna find a new bad guy. Then it's gonna be, oh, the white straight woman, she's got to go, and then the straight black man, he's got to go. This guy is just too privileged. Oh, the straight Hispanic man, I can't. Just the privilege. It's just like, oh, the Christians. The Christians, they're just too privileged. Oh, the Jews. Jews just way too privileged. Oh, the straight black woman. Way too privileged. Way too privileged. And hello, YouTube. It's me from the future again. even more so in the future. It is now 2 days after the original video, but I wanted to add a little anecdotal experience at the very end of this. I know you guys are probably a little tired of anecdotal stories, evidence that I put as frames for a lot of my beliefs, especially when I talk about how I've had the luck of living outside of the Western world, and so having seen real racism, real sexism, and that's part of why I have such a frustration when people try to sell this idea that the Western world is so racist and so homophobic. And I'm like, come on, that's just not true. So anyway, yesterday I went on a date with a guy from Sudan. It was a pretty good date, actually. Might be a second date. Actually, there will be a second date. And I just wanted to bring up something that he said to me during the course of the date, right? So he basically told me that all of his dating experiences have been from people from the West, okay, like Western countries. And his reasoning for it was that the local people here in Saudi Arabia are very racist, that, there's a large Indian and Pakistani community, and he said that they are also very, very racist. And so he found himself dating people from the West because they weren't racist. And also just interacting with him and him saying how much he would like to live in the West and how great, just kind of like, it was just so, it's kind of like, here I am watching videos coming out of like the US or maybe the UK nowadays, and it's just people talking about how terrible the West is, how racist the West is, how unfair the West is. And then you meet people who actually come from like African nations, or even like the people I've gone on dates with here from like India, Pakistan, Afghanistan, and stuff like that. And literally they will just completely tell the opposite of what we are now telling ourselves in the West. They will say that Western people are so open-minded, that they're so much kinder and willing to date and have like respectable relationships with them, that they treat them as equals, how much they wish they could go to the West. And I'm just like, I just would like to take that snippet. Like I would love if I could have, I almost wish I could have like filmed that date just so I could legitimately put it on here out of his own mouth, and just to show the Western world how ridiculous and how absolutely false this narrative is that we are talking in the Western world now. So that's it. Hopefully that is it. And I'm going to try to put this video up now. Okay, bye.